Hi, Shira7. Welcome back. This is Diaries of a Former Mortician, Vlog 10. Okay, today I'm going to share some interesting stories about um, like childhood interests that led me to, actually become a mortician and the weird requests that I've gotten from people while working in the funeral business. Okay. So as a child, I've always loved gross stuff, gory stuff, gruesome stuff, macabre stuff, dead things. I had a fish cemetery when I was a child. We had an aquarium with like lots of goldfish and different types of fish in there. And every time one died, I would actually like get one of those little sliding match boxes that, they used to use to light the stove with. We had like the little miniature match boxes. And I would put the fish, and plus my mom smoked cigarettes, so she always had matches everywhere. I would put the dead fish inside the little matchbox, like a coffin, and then I would shut it closed. And then I would make a cross out of popsicle sticks or toothpicks or something. And I had my own cemetery in the backyard. This is when I was like 3 years old, okay? Three. I wasn't even in elementary school yet. So I had my own little fish cemetery. And I had like probably about 5 or 6 graves back there. And I would dig the hole myself and put the fish down in there and put the little cross over it, and we'd say like bye bye fish, go to heaven or something like that, instead of flushing them down the toilet, right? I said let's start a fish cemetery, a fish graveyard. How do I know what a graveyard or a cemetery was at 3 years old? I don't know, but oh well. So and then we had a pet named, it was a little dog named Pat, and Pat ran out into the street and got hit by a car and was killed. And I witnessed that. I witnessed the dog get run over by a car. And don't ask me how, don't ask me why, don't question the parenting skills of the early 80s. But somehow I ran in the street and picked up the dead dog in my arms and ran back into the house and showed my mom and said, "Look, mommy, look, the dog." So I saw the dog. The dog was dead. I picked the dog up and brought the dog in the house. 3 years old. Okay. So that was like probably the first time I ever like touched anything dead besides the fish. So, from that point on, the fascination with death got stronger and stronger until, I ended up, actually going to mortuary school. But yeah, so it was like there was something just inside me since I was a child, and sometimes you just go with the flow. Okay, so people knew I worked at a funeral home later on, and I would get some strange requests and from strangers, from friends, from crazy people. They would approach me and they was like, "Hey, can you get a certain body part for me? I wanna put it in a jar and keep it in my house." I'm like, "What? Can you get a finger or a toe or something?" Okay, I've gotten requests like this, seriously. Um, and then I was like, "No, I can't do that. I'll pay you." I'm like, how much you gonna pay me?" No, I was kidding. Thought about it. I thought about it. I thought about it. But I was like really into my moral ethics back then. And I was like, no, I don't do that. So, so then like I had another request. You know, you're going to get them. You're going to get the same thing if you go to mortuary school or if you work in a funeral home. Some fool will come and ask you for if you can steal or sell them a bottle of embalming fluid so they can like dip cigarettes in it and sell it on the streets like drugs. Now, if unless they keep track of that stuff, those bottles of embalming fluid, they are numbered and they are kept track of, and every time you use one, you have to write like the number down on a paper and a form and all this stuff. And they keep up with this stuff because it is like toxic and it is a drug. But there's some crooked funeral directors that will sell some, just like a little bit. Yeah, If you have a funeral home, a family funeral home, and one week you're driving this car, the next week you're driving a Benz, so we know you're doing something extra besides ghetto funerals. Okay, like there's like this funeral home, and I know they weren't making this much money, okay, because I worked there, I did the funerals, but I know they were selling something on the side. But that's how it is in some funeral homes. Now, I also had another crazy request to can you videotape an embalming for me and let me keep the footage, and I'll pay you. Or can you let me come in the embalming room while you embalm somebody and I'll pay you? Well, first of all, if you don't work at the funeral home, or if you don't know the owner of the funeral home, they're not going to let just anybody come in there and get up in their embalming room and watch someone get embalmed, because first of all, that's a violation of privacy for that family. And second of all, I mean, if you get sick or injure yourself or faint, pass out, have a heart attack, then the funeral home could be liable. So it's kind of like, don't ask, like if you know a mortician or something and they're crooked, they might let you do all of that stuff above. But don't ask someone like who works for like a corporate funeral home or like someone with high moral standards. Don't ask them, because they're going to tell you no. So like, well, I admit one time I did bring my brother up to my job and show him, some dead bodies. But it was only for a lesson. It was only a lesson because he drove like a crazy maniac. He was always getting into car accidents and just, craziness. And so one night I forgot my keys, or I locked my keys inside my car or something. He had to come pick me up from work. And I said, come on in here, I want to show you something. So it's kind of like a scared straight situation. The whole ride home he was driving slow. Anyway, so I think that's like when they do scared straight and they take them to the morgue and to the funeral home. I think that's more effective than taking them to like a jail, because like most young guys, they think like jail is gonna make you tough and hard, but not the funeral home and not the morgue. Then it's too late. So, like one time we had a scared straight program come through our funeral home. It, I think more people wanted to become a mortician after taking the scared straight tour than they wanted to be criminals at this point. I was like, ooh, look at that, I don't think it really worked, but at least their interests changed, yeah. So anyway, those are a few of my like weird stories from my mortician days and my early childhood. Oh, I had another story to add. When I was a child, my sister used to like drive me and my brother around. She was a teenager and we were still in elementary. Well, every time we saw roadkill, we'd beg her to stop the car and let us go look at it. So we were driving through our neighborhood and we saw like a dead possum or something. And I said, stop the car, stop the car. I jumped out the car and me and my brother went to go look at the dead possum. We were sticking it with like sticks and nothing happened. So I kind of put my foot on it and pushed down a little bit, and some ooze came out of it and some ants and some roaches. And it was just, the smell was disgusting. And the smell got on my shoe. You know how like you smell dead animal? That's what it smells like. And like it was like jiggly, like zzz, like cartilagey, and it was just so nasty. But I loved that kind of stuff. I don't know why. I was a weird child. I used to like sniff, the You know how they had the manholes in the ground, like in the old days, or like the sewer. I would sniff like the fumes that came out of it because it smelled good to me. But I was a strange child. I was the strangest child that my mom ever had. I wasn't the weirdest, but I was the strangest. I was the most normal strangest. I'll just say that. Anyway, I was the one to watch. So, that is my little stories of childhood and weird things that people ask me to do. What is this on my hand? Oh, you know what? This is weird. Okay, I was trying to give my kid some medicine and it spilled on me and it turned like a different color. Well, alright, y'all. Thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, subscribe.